All right, good afternoon all. First, I'd like to thank you for your continued patience and your understanding as this investigation progresses along. I'll give you some brief operational updates. At this time, there are no investigative details that I can release just because of the active and the ongoing investigation. When those details are able to be released, we'll put that out there for you. I'm going to start off with the status of the interior of the courthouse. Our special ops teams have swept the perimeters, swept every floor of all 12 floors of that courthouse. The remaining civilians and courthouse workers have been escorted from that facility. So that facility is empty at this time, except for the investigators that continue to process the evidence at the crime scene. The identification of the victims. We keep getting questions on the identification of the victims and the suspect. They'll be released pending the positive identification made by the medical examiner's office and proper notification to the next of kin. So we do not have a time on that yet, but we will release that when it is available. Roadway closures. I have some roadway closures for you. They continue to be closed. They'll open up at the conclusion of the investigation. I don't have a time for you on that yet. 4th Street from Walnut to Market continues to be closed. And King Street from 11th to 4th Street continues to be closed. Also at this time, we'd ask any witnesses that may have left the courthouse during the initial incident, that they have left and they have not contacted anybody, to contact the number I'm about to give you. It's 302-834-2620, extension 0. Give it to you one more time. 302-834-2620, extension 0. This time I'd like to turn it over to the Attorney General of Delaware, Beau for some comments.
Thank you, Sergeant. First and foremost, our hearts and prayers go out to the victims in the shootings here in the city of Wilmington at our courthouse this morning. There's 3 points I'd like to make. Number one, this was not, and the Sergeant spoke to this earlier today, this was not, I reiterate, not a random act of violence. Preliminarily, this was the result of a custody dispute that has lasted in our court system for several years. It is an ongoing investigation. As we speak, there are investigators around the state investigating what happened. And so I hope you can bear with us as we do our job. As the Secretary does his job, as the Colonel does his job, and each of the various law enforcement agencies, especially the Chief of Capitol Police, does their job in getting to the bottom of exactly what transpired this morning. Second point I'd like to make on behalf of the courts, while I don't speak for the court system, the court is announcing as we speak, or imminently, that court will be closed tomorrow. And that personnel, employees of the court here in Newcastle County specifically, will be closed tomorrow. And they should go to the website to look for information about what to do and what updates they can seek, including specifically any counselors that they might want to speak to based on what they were witness to or saw this morning. This only relates to the Newcastle County Courthouse. This does not affect any other court in the state of Delaware. And the third point I'd like to make is self-evident. It's the bravery of the men and women in uniform who made sure this morning wasn't as bad as wasn't worse than it already was. Whether it's starting with the chief, who will speak in a moment, the Delaware State Police, who's leading the investigation with the Secretary and with the Colonel, the Wilmington Police Department, the Newcastle County Police Department, and a variety of other agencies, including our federal law enforcement partners. And the final point I'd like to make is I've been in touch with and working hand in glove with the Office of the Governor, who is leading the charge on this. Obviously, the Secretary works for the Governor, as does the Superintendent of the Delaware State Police, the Colonel. With that, I'd like to introduce the Colonel, or rather the Chief of the Capitol Police, some of whose officers were involved in this incident this morning. Chief.
Thank you. I want to thank all the federal, local, and state law enforcement Their response to this was phenomenal. The two officers that were involved, we're not going to release their names until the families has a chance to talk with the officers. But they were treated and released today, and we can contribute that to the vest that we wear. And fortunately, they'll be able to go home tonight and sit with their families. I also like to thank the governor of our great state, who already spoken to our two officers and expressed his concerns and also his gratitude. Thank you.
You identify yourself, sir.
Yes, my name is William Jopp, J-O-P-P.
J-O-P.
Yes.
Again, I appreciate your patience and understanding as this progresses on. This concludes this portion of this media advisory interview here. If there is more information to put out, operational information, I'll give that to you. We'll put a media release out on that for a time and location.
It's clear that you know who the victims are and you know who the shooter is. Why can you not release that?
Because that's not our protocol. We've been doing this for a long time, both of us. We've been covering these incidents for a long time. That's not the way we do this. We have an investigation that's ongoing. We will make sure that you and the press, and especially the public and the citizens of this state, know what we have when it's appropriate. But we need not do anything to jeopardize this investigation, and that's why we are going to maintain information internally.
You mentioned that this is part of an ongoing custody dispute. Can you elaborate on that? Apparently, it involved a kidnapping at some point some years ago.
I cannot elaborate at this time. I can tell you that this stems from, is born out of a long, over the course of many years, custody dispute in the courts of this state, and the family court specifically. But I'll be able to give you more information about it as we continue this investigation. But as we speak right now, and the reason I'm going to leave, not with no disrespect to your viewing public or you, but this sergeant, this colonel, he has an investigation to run. So does my office to be there as their partner in this investigation, ultimately its prosecution. So thank you all very much.
What are you involved in court today?